I am here with Eric Shanower, and you are famous for doing the Age of Bronze books and also the Oz books, both on your own and with Marvel Comics.
That's true.
And you're an Eisner winner for the Marvel Comics.
For both projects,
Ooh.
I've won Eisners. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Yay. Are you ready for my 5 fabulous questions?
I am ready.
Question number 1 is, how did you get started working in comics?
I've loved comics ever since I was a very young child. When I was in high school, I decided I wanted to be a cartoonist professionally. After high school, I went to the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Art, which is a small school in New Jersey basically geared toward training people to work in comics. And in my last semester there, I started sending out my portfolio, having interviews at the major New York publishers with editors there. I started getting work immediately when I got out of school. That was almost 30 years ago. I've been a professional cartoonist ever since,
wow.
And basically working steadily.
Oh, you poor thing. Yeah, that's fantastic. Second question is, it was clear you read comics as a kid.
Yes.
What were some of the books that you were reading and what's still influencing you?
When I was a young child, I read The Adventures of Tintin by Hergé. They were serialized in a magazine called Children's Digest in English. I loved the comics published by Harvey Comics, Richie Rich and Casper and Little Dot. Richie Rich was my absolute favorite. I also started reading superhero comics when I got a little older, started reading Captain Marvel, the one that turns into Captain Marvel when he says Shazam.
Yep.
I loved the Justice League of America. When I was in high school, I wanted to draw the Justice League. That was the job I wanted.
Yeah.
I loved the X-Men this was in the late 70s when John Byrne was drawing it, Chris Claremont was writing it. Today, my favorite comic is Love and Rockets, particularly the Locust series drawn by Jaime Hernandez. I also love his brother Gilbert Hernandez's work too, but every time I read Jaime's work, I always despair because I think I will never be that good a cartoonist. My other favorite comics are Blueberry by Charlier and Mobius.
Yep.
Jean Giraud in France, but in the US he's known as Mobius.
Yes.
I love the comic book Cerebus by Dave Sim, although I actually haven't read like the last 70 issues, which I get very strong opinions on by other people. But I think the cartooning in that is great.
Yeah.
My friend Ed Brubaker writes lots of really good comics. His Captain America run for Marvel was really, really great.
Yeah.
And his spy, detective, underworld crime series that he writes are really spectacular.
Are there any that you would recommend for kids or for teens?
For kids or for teens today, it's really difficult for me to recommend comics currently because I'm so far behind in my reading. I have stacks and stacks all over my house of two read piles. For kids today.
Well, there's always Tintin. It's still being printed.
Tintin is still good.
It's still good.
It is. I was reading. No, it's not good to recommend. The classics are always great. The Donald Duck comics by Carl Barks are absolutely wonderful. I loved those when I was a kid. They hold up for any reading. IDW has reprinted some Archie daily comics from the 40s. I read that. I was just blown away. It was wonderful, wonderful art, wonderful stories. A lot of Archie stuff is being reprinted, and there's a lot of good stuff coming out from Archie now too.
Yeah, there is.
So they've sort of revitalized the company in the past couple of years.
They have.
Asterix, it's another European comic.
Those were my favorites.
About a Gaul from ancient old-time France. Is that enough recommendations?
That's plenty. That's plenty.
Great.
Thank you. If you were going to be stranded on a desert island and you knew you were going to have to read a book 2 or 3 times, which book would you bring with you?
Are you talking about comics or
any book at all?
Book in the
any
world?
book in the world.
If I was going to be stranded on a desert island and I could only choose one book, any book in the world, that's a very difficult question. You know, my favorite, can I give like 3 alternate answers?
Yes.
One of my Well, I have these two favorite books that are really my favorite kids' books, and they're not the Oz books. They're The Princess and the Goblin and The Princess and Curdie by George MacDonald.
Yes.
They're kind of old-fashioned, so probably kids today would hate them, but I love them. I reread them every few years.
Fabulous.
That's two books, but I would really want to take those. I have another favorite book that's not a kid's book.
Yeah.
The Wandering Jew by Eugene Sue. This is totally out of style, out of fashion. It's this old, from the 1840s, I think, really thick French book. I mean, it's translated into English.
Right, that's helpful.
And it's really this potboiler, melodramatic, cliffhanger every few chapters thing. It's really exciting, but I don't, I mention it to people, but no one reads it today.
No.
I read it 10 years ago. I love it.
I'll see if I can find a link to a copy that's in print and get it on the website.
I think it's only there's books on, books on demand printings.
Probably.
I don't know if there's a real...
That's okay. We're librarians. We can handle it. And the last question is, what are you working on next?
Okay. I am working on Age of Bronze, which is my comic book retelling of the complete story of the Trojan War. The fourth volume just came out, but I'm still going on. I'm not quite halfway through the story.
Okay.
It's a compilation of every single version of the Trojan War, starting with Homer's Iliad on down, all mashed together in one long storyline and set in the correct time period, which is the 13th century BCE. I also write adaptations of the Oz books by L. Frank Baum for Marvel Comics. The artist on that is Scotty Young.
Yeah.
And we are working on the 6th book right now, The Emerald City of Oz.
Good.
I also have another project that I'm going to be working on, but I can't talk about it because tomorrow they're making the big announcement on what it is, and I can't say.
Fair enough. I'll find out tomorrow and add it in the link.
Okay, great.
So cool. Thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it. Yay.